Hey there, I'm Brandon Howe, and welcome back to my Making a Game series. In the last episode, we made more types of enemies. So, we have our normal type of hazard thing that flies forward, doesn't do much. We have a type of enemy that flies forward and shoots, an enemy that turns, and an enemy that combines both of them. So it flies back and forth, and it shoots. In this episode, first of all, we're going to be fixing a small problem that I noticed after making a large amount of enemies, in that since our enemies start shooting right away, the screen quickly becomes filled with bullets as all these enemies are still off screen, and we have bullets disappearing while they're still in play area. So we're going to need a solution to that. So what we are going to do is I'm going to be making a new game object, zero it out, and make a box collider, not 2D, a 3D box collider, thank you. Move it over here, and I'm going to make that, make it 20 units long, 25 for good measure. So what we are going to do is have an enemy shoot scripts disabled by default, and when they pass through this trigger, they will get activated. Then they will start shooting. And I'm make that a bit thicker just in case, I guess. So this is going to be shot activate, I guess. And now we're going to need a script that does all of that. So we're going to make a C# script called shot activate, or shooting activate, I suppose. Shooting, or activate shooting would probably be the better term. Activate shooting. So making that, waiting for it to be created, so then we can open it, and yeah. And then after we're done this, then we'll start making a score system. So destroying enemies will give you a score, and then we'll have a text that in the top right of the screen that will show you what your score is. So activate shooting. So what we're going to do is have this be a void on trigger enter, and we're gonna say if the thing that we've collided with, if it has an enemy shoot script, then we're going to activate it. So if other.get component enemy shoot, this will return, or is not equal to null. So if it returns something, if the object that collides with this trigger has an enemy shoot script, then we're going to activate it. So other.get component enemy shoot dot enabled equals true. And this should be as simple as that. Going back to Unity now, we're going to have to make sure that all our enemy shoot scripts are disabled by default. So we're going to go over to our prefabs and our enemy shoot, wait for that to open, and then we're going to want to find its enemy shoot script and disable that. Easy enough. And then our enemy turn and shoot, go and disable its enemy shoot script. And now we're going to want to go onto this shot activate game object and drag and drop that there. I'm also just going to make the names consistent. Activate shooting. Alright, so now let's test if that works. So our enemies that don't shoot shouldn't be any different. But now, I also just realized I didn't actually make this a trigger, but it still didn't stop the enemies from, the hazards from going through it. So that's interesting. Oh, didn't hit play mode there. Alright, going into this. See if this works, hopefully. Alright, so there's less bullets, but there's still, how far back are these? Let me turn on gizmos here for a second, because I just want to see how far away this is. Oh, that's pretty far back. Let's try we're setting this to only 15. I think they might still be shooting too early. And then let me look at these enemies and actually make sure that by default their shoot scripts are off. All right. Yes. 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 Oh, that's an interesting conundrum. Fun. All right. So it seems that messing with our prefabs kind of messed up some of our enemies here. So let's fix that really quickly, going through anything that has this double. I think it's just some of our enemy turn and shoots that have those. Yeah, it seems so. Nope, not that one. Alright. So getting rid of that. Testing the rest of these, which seems to be fine. Alright. So now, going into this again. And turn that off as well. And now these enemies should be working as we want them to. And they kind of are. Now that all the enemies are, like, now that we got rid of the ones that were shooting right away, I might want to move this back to 20. And then I might also want to just mess with the time between shooting of the enemies. So now going into this, we got our hazards, turn enemies, and then enemies that shoot. Alright, they seem to be working as we want them to. Yeah, I believe so. I guess it would just be a matter of tweaking the variables for their shot times that would make them shoot faster. But that seems to be working just fine. So, great. So, our enemies work now. Now it's time to move on to score. So, first of all, we're going to make text in the top right. That'll show how much score we have. So, we're going to go create UI and text. Alright. So now we're going to call this score text, and the text is black by default, so we can't actually see it. I will make it white. Yep, alright, so then we're going to call this, for the actual text that it's going to show, we're going to go score, colon, and then 0 for now. And then we're going to move this to the top right, so clicking on this thing here, holding Shift and Alt, and clicking the top right, we'll move it up there. Also, we're going to have it be right aligned and center aligned vertically. So now, how big do we want this to be? Let's set this to 250 and then increase font size here to 30. And now we're going to go move it out a bit. That works for now. Might be a bit big. Actually, yes, I'm going to turn that down. As well, on our canvas, we're going to want to, this canvas scaler, we're going to switch it to scale with screen size, so that as we change the size of the screen, the size of this doesn't change relative to the size of the screen, which is what we want. Alright, so now we're going to want to get this score to actually exist. So we're going to... So we're going to need something... So different enemies will probably be worth a different amount of score to be destroyed. So we're going to want something on all the enemies that determines how much score it has. And then... So what I think we're going to do is we're going to make a new script called enemy score. And then open that up. Yeah, alright, so we're going to open that up. So now this will go on every enemy, so we're going to have a public int. This will all be an integer. The score will just be whole numbers, I believe. So score, and I guess we'll set a default of 10, I suppose. And then we're going to want to have this have a reference to the score text. Okay, what we... Okay, we might have... If we just alter the score directly through this script, we might want to instead make a score... Whoa, not a folder. A new C# script called score UI on the text and have the score get incremented through here, because we might want certain things to happen every time we increment the score, like something that keeps track of if we have enough score to beat the level, things like that. So we're going to have score UI, and in this we're going to get a reference to the text. And to do that, we're going to have to add a using unityengine.ui. That'll allow us to get access to the text. Then we'll have a public, actually we'll make it a private because we'll just get a reference to it. So private text called score text. All right. And then in the start function, we're going to set score text.text. Score text being the text component, and then, or the whole game object, and then it's text component, setting this, or sorry, text being the whole component, text.text being what's in this field here, equal to score :0 as a start value. Then in, not the update function, but we're going to make a public void. Making a public function will mean that we can access it from other functions, so this enemy shoot script will be able to access this function that we're going to create, and we're going to say, give you a public void add score, and then it'll have an int, or it'll take as input an int that is amount, the amount to add. So then we're just going to say, oh, we're also going to want then a private int called score that's going to keep track of what the score is, and it's going to start off equaling 0. So then here we're going to say score plus equals amount. We could also technically use this if we wanted something to decrease the score. We could just call this with a negative amount. If not really sure what would decrease the score, but maybe we could make, if the player gets damaged, they lose score if we had health or something, but that wouldn't really apply to this scenario. But it's an option, I guess. So now, score plus equals amount. Now we're going to want to actually change the text here. And how we're going to do that is going score text equals, in quotation marks, score :space, and then going plus score. I think we can just do that, but it might, yeah. We'll do an implicit conversion, making this a string. And that should work like that. So now over on the enemy score over here, we're going to want to, when this game object that the enemy score is on gets disabled, then we're going to call the score UI add score function. So we're going to need a reference to the score UI. So we're going to make a private score UI Bam. Yeah. All right, and then we're going to need to get a reference to it. So score UI dot equals game object dot find score text with space dot get component score UI. All right. Now I believe that should work like that. So then there's a special function that gets called when the game object is disabled, and it's void on disable. Bam. All right. So on disable, then we're going to want to go score UI dot add score. All right. Saying score so many times, but we're here. You could also call it points if you really wanted to, but now that should work like that. So now we have to add a bunch of scripts. So on this, we're going to add the score UI script, and then we got a warning here. Score text never assigned to. Okay, hold up 1 second. Oh, we never actually get the reference to the score text. That's a little important. So score text equals, so score text equals get component text. Forgot that. All right. Now that should work. Alright, so I'm waiting for it to update again. So now we're going to want to go on all our hazards and enemies and add the score script to it. So we're going to go with our hazard. And I guess as the enemy types get more complex, they'll slowly be worth more and more of a score. So then we're going to go on to go scripts and then add an enemy score. And then we'll have that be 10 as a base value for that hazard. Then we're going to go to higher up is our enemy turn. We're going to want to go then enemy score. We can make that worth 15, I suppose, or maybe we'll go 20, 30, then 40. Yeah, that seems fine, I suppose. Then enemy turn. No, that was the one that we just did. Enemy shoot. More complex. We're going to want to go and add the over here, enemy shoot, and then we're going to make this 30. And then the one that combines both of them, enemy turn and shoot. Then we're going to want to add another one to that. Also, see, the great thing of having prefabs, we're able to just edit this one instance of it, and it modifies all of them. Hopefully. Let me double check that before I go in, just because the enemy shoots were having difficulties before, just making sure that they're cooperating the way we want them to. Alright, so now, hopefully, testing this again, this should hopefully work the way that I want it to, which it seems like it is. So, the score is getting increased. Oh, that was a jump. Oh, another problem seems to be that as the shot leaves the screen and it goes really far up, it seems to be killing things high up anyway. We might want to avoid that as well. Alright, so actually I think we could double this. So this is right off screen. I think I might also make it, or alter it. This will kind of defeat the purpose of that destroy by time script that we made before. But we might just make it that as soon as the player shot interacts with this object, we'll destroy it as well. So on trigger, enter. I'll add an else if to this. So if it's not something that has the enemy shoot script, then else if other dot this is the collider. So other dot compare tag player shot. So if it has the player shot tag, then we're going to want to destroy it. Destroy game or other dot game object, not destroying itself. That would not be good. Destroy other dot game object. So now, waiting a few seconds for this. So now that should fix that problem, and hopefully it's not noticeable. It seems to not be. Let me just make sure. Are these getting past? And they are. That's not good. Now, why might that be? So they're getting past. They aren't tagged. I made that player shot tag, but never actually used it. So let's do that. So player shot. There we go. Is the enemy shots tagged as enemy shots? They are. Alright. Alright, so now, hopefully this should work. Let me shoot off a bunch into the distance. And are they? They're still making it past. Alright, that's very much not what we want. My guess is that there's something up with having a trigger collide with another trigger. I'll be right back while I sort this out. Alright, so the problem was simple enough. I set this tag to be player shot, but the child object that actually has the collider on it is... I did not set the tag of that, so we're going to do that as well. And now this should hopefully work. Sometimes it's just simple things that you overlook. Alright, so now I think that's working. I mean, I don't see other shots going past. I believe it's working. And I can see the player shots getting destroyed. So now everything is working as we want them to. And we're getting a score as we want to. And then all these enemy types get combined. Ooh, super scary. So, perfect. So now we can also we'll deal with having a required score amount to beat the level when we get to actually completing the level. But now, yeah, we've got a bunch of things done. So I think that'll do it for this episode. In the next episode, we're going to start improving some models, I believe. I think we'll start simple by improving our player shot and our enemy shot, and then we'll get into improving the background, getting some space stuff and having it sort of scroll by. Then we'll get to improving the player, and then we'll get into improving all these enemies. Now, what I think I am going to do is, instead of improving all these models all at once, because that could seem a bit tedious when we're doing it so many times, I think I'll interchange between an episode of improving models and then an episode of going back to making new stuff. Such as soon we're going to be making a pause screen, and then we'll make the completing the level thing, and then we'll move on to like a level select and stuff like that. So I might sort of interchange between the two regularly, so you get to see new stuff, not just the same old. But anyway, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a good day!